This video clip is part of the EPFL introductory course on information, computing and communication. It introduces a set of further video clips on computer communication and networking. This slide shows two von Neumann computers, each of which includes one or more processors, as discussed in the computer architecture lesson, some memory, as discussed in the memory hierarchy lesson, and storage devices, as discussed in the previous lesson, to allow the communication of information across time. Such computers would, however, be pretty useless unless they also provided input-output interfaces, I/O interfaces as they're called, to communicate with the outside world. Such I/O interfaces come in two flavors, so-called front-end user interfaces and so-called back-end network interfaces. End-user systems, such as workstations, desktops, laptops, tablets, smartphones, GPSs, and other gadgets and computerized control devices, all present audio-visual user interfaces, including such things as keyboard, display, mouse, camera, microphone, speakers, etc., or sensors and actuators in the case of control devices. So-called server computers, not directly accessible to end users, do not necessarily present user interfaces. The operation of such user interfaces is eminently dependent on their nature, and each of them relies on its own science and technology. As interesting as these topics may be, covering them all here is beyond the scope of this introductory course. Besides user interfaces, both end-user systems as well as server systems also offer network interfaces to allow communication of information across space. The topic of the set of video clips in this lesson is precisely the operation of such networking interfaces and the computer networks that tie them together. The objective of these video clips is to show how networking plays in the space domain a role very similar to the one that storage plays in the time domain. Storage management techniques, seen in the previous lesson, aim at defining where and how information can be stored so it can be retrieved later in time. The video clips of this lesson will show that networking techniques aim at defining when and how information can be sent across a network so it can be received by other computers elsewhere in space. One can thus immediately see the time-space duality of these challenges. As will be seen, networking and storage techniques share many conceptual principles as a result of that. This networking topic will be covered in three groups of video clips. The first group will cover the basic concepts behind computer networking. The first clip will introduce the essential notions of protocols for transmitting messages. A second clip will highlight the essential concept of protocol layering, which is one of the structural foundations of networking today. The third clip will explain equally essential concept of protocol encapsulation, which is another structural foundation of networking technology. The fourth clip will then present the notion of switching and explain the key difference between switching in former telephone networks and in today's computer networks. The second group of video clips will focus more specifically on today's global internet. The fifth clip of this lesson will sketch its topology and its protocol layers. The sixth clip will describe how internet computers are addressed and how the layer 3 internet protocol called IP transports information between them. The seventh clip will explain how the paths for transporting information across internet are computed at the IP layer. And the eighth clip on internet will briefly introduce some of the most important internet layers in layer 4 and 5. A ninth and last video clip will then wrap up by reviewing the different purposes and ways that networks have been designed and used over time.